hope everyone's been enjoying the break in the UFC schedule. I feel like that this is much needed. As much as I love this sport and if there are fights happening, I'll definitely be watching, it's good to have a break from time to time. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and the extra time in between fights will allow for anticipation to grow and in turn make the fights seem all the more special when they finally go down. It's crazy to think that there's just one card this weekend and then we're on a break till April 7th when the huge fight between Khabib and Ferg finally goes down. But I love that this is the case. By the time UFC 223 rolls around, us fans are going to be super hyped about that amazing card. The UFC has too many events annually. So much gets lost in the shuffle, certain fights and cards receive essentially zero attention. Case in point, UFC London. A card that was once looking like it was going to be Michael Bisping's swan song is now looking more like a pretty forgettable event at this point. I don't mean to disrespect anyone on the card, because for them, every time they fight is the biggest event in the world, but the reality is, this weekend's Fight Pass card hasn't been on many people's radar, and you can't blame them for that. But I personally am quite interested in the main event. I think that Fabricio Werdum versus Alexander Volkov is more intriguing of a matchup than it's given credit. There are a couple things about Volkov that I find quite interesting. Starting with the fact that he is more than 10 years younger than Werdum, yet has more fights than the legend. Granted, the vast majority of those fights have taken place in Russia. The fact that the man is technically more experienced than Werdum is definitely noteworthy. There's also the fact that there are only two promotions he's ever competed in outside of the UFC, which is M1 and Bellator, and he's managed to claim the heavyweight championship in both promotions. Couple that with the fact that he's won his 3 straight in the UFC since arriving, and all of a sudden, it's no wonder he's getting an opportunity to take on one of the greatest heavyweight fighters in the history of MMA. And when I say one of the greatest heavyweight fighters in the history of MMA, I mean it. Fabricio Werdum quite possibly might be the very best heavyweight to ever compete in our sport. I find that it's hard to appreciate these fighters when they're still active and in the thick of the action, but all you have to do is take one glance at Werdum's resume for the proof. He's fought and beaten the likes of Gabriel Gonzaga, Alistair Overeem, Bigfoot Silva, Big Nog, Mark Hunt, Cain Velasquez, Travis Browne, and was the first man ever to defeat Vador at the time the last emperor was widely considered the greatest of all time. He is a Pride legend, a former UFC champion, and quite possibly the best BJJ practitioner in the sport. When it's all said and done, history is going to be kind to Werdum, and he will definitely go down as one of the greatest ever. But for now, as an active fighter on the roster, he's like everyone else, and he is only as good as his last fight. Although Volkov has fought some elite guys, this is a big step up in competition for the Russian. With a big step up in competition comes great opportunity. If Volkov is able to get past Werdum, it'll unquestionably be the biggest win of his career, and just like that, he's going to be in the title picture. I think Volkov has the chance to make things interesting, but ultimately, I think Werdum is going to be too much for him. If things go as they should, Werdum will not only come out the victor, but the likely next challenger for the winner of DC versus Stipe Miocic.